Hey everyone, I'm Jake and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is going to be my very first video, so welcome. And today I'm going to talk about my coming out story. And I just really want to drive the point home that this video is not only for myself, as I haven't really told a bunch of people about my coming out story or anything, but I really want this to serve as for educational purposes, for people who are still figuring out their sexuality, people who love coming out videos, or just whatever you need it for, it's here, and that's why I wanted to sit down and talk about it today. And so I guess I'll start where it all started. So my family moved from Cincinnati to Indiana when I was like around 10. And so I came from being the minority at my school to going to a school system with less than 1% diversity. And for me, I was already different because I didn't grow up in an atmosphere quite like this. There's not a lot of people around. Granted, my parents live in the suburbs now. I'm actually in my childhood bedroom where all of this stuff happened. So a lot of people weren't very open-minded, and it's actually still very much that way here, which makes me sad because I don't understand why like you would ever shame someone for being who they are. And I recognized that from a really young age, and so that had a lot of effect as to my coming out story and what happened. So fast forward, it's middle school. It's actually the end of middle school, and I had been figuring out who I am. Puberty is a very awkward time for all of us, I'm sure. But for me, I started to experiment a little bit, and I was just really figuring out who I was. And I ended up meeting this guy, and he was great, he was awesome, I really liked it at the time. I think ideally I was just looking for attention in areas that I wasn't getting attention. He went to the same school as me, he was a year above me, and so it's the summer before I start high school, summer love, and that was gross. And we started school, and I told him that I didn't want to particularly see him anymore because I wasn't out yet, and I wasn't ready to come out yet. And that's a point that I really want to stress, is if you are not ready, do not come out unless you are comfortable. And that is something that I wish I had. I wish I had a choice. This guy that I said I didn't want to see anymore, because I didn't want to see him anymore and wanted to keep my life kind of a secret, he was out and I wasn't. And so he was a lot more confident and comfortable. And so one day I came to school, and you could feel that something was different. And he had told pretty much everyone that I went to high school with that I was gay, and he outed me, and it wasn't fair. I never got a choice, which is something that I had a lot of resentment about for a really long time. You can see like I'm starting to tear up a little bit. It wasn't fair. I wasn't ready. And he really put my personal life like on display, and but he didn't stop there. He was kind of angry at me, so he spread a lot of rumors about me and said a lot of things about me that weren't true, and it kind of spread like wildfire, and everyone else was getting in on it too. So there were so many things being said about me, and I had just gotten to high school. Like, literally nobody knew who I was, and now everybody knew who I was, and I instantly was that weird gay kid, like, immediately. And so, and I didn't have any, like, very many friends either, which didn't help. And so, because he outed me, I started to receive threats. I would get notes in my locker. People wanted to harm me. Like, it just was not good. And also, like, the mentality for me, like, not being able to be the person who got to decide to come out to anyone, this eventually reached home, and I hadn't told my parents yet. And so it was really, really difficult for my parents to be like, why are you getting bullied at school? Like, why don't you want to go to school? Like, what is so terrible at high school that you just cannot go? And I had to tell them that I was gay. And it was probably the most intense, one of the most intense moments of my life. And the worst part was that they, at first they weren't accepting of it. They're extremely supportive of me now. But at the time, I think it was just a shock to them. And I hadn't even thought about how to tell them. And so with all the pressure, it just kind of came out. Jokes. And for them, I mean, I don't think they were expecting it either. And so they told me that I didn't know what I wanted, and I was so young that I had a lot of time to figure it out, but I had never really been attracted to women. I've never done anything with a woman, and that doesn't bother me because I'm very confident in who I am, and I know who I am now. And so at the time I was like, okay, yeah, like, I had no access to the internet. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have a phone. Like, I didn't have any of the things that a lot of kids had because my parents just, we weren't that type of family. I've never played video games, y'all. Like, let me just say that. I think we had a Wii. Does that even count? Anyways, so yeah, I didn't have really any reference or anywhere to turn. I didn't know what to do. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is normal. I guess I'll, like, try girls, whatever that means. And so I went on to school. It was still not great for me to go back, but I kept going. That kid that outed me ended up moving away. So he really didn't have to deal with all of this. I was left to deal with all of it. And I think what really helped the whole experience was I started to become really busy. I took up student council, I took up swimming, I took up track, I started in the drama department, I was heavily involved in all of my studies, I had played soccer for 15 years, like, I was freaking the golden child, or like the quintessential gay that you think of in like weird little Netflix movies. And so taking up a lot of things just helped take my mind off of it a lot. And by the time I reached my senior year, I was 100% like in my own. I was owning who I was. I was not afraid because I think something that I realized across my entire experience and not getting to choose coming out was I had to be able to defend myself. And I think that the best way to defend yourself is by owning exactly who you are, because nobody can tell you who you are. All of those people saying all those terrible things about me, they had no control over me and my decisions. And I tried my best to just not let it get to me. And every time, I'm sorry, I'm gonna curse a little bit, but every time someone would call me a faggot, or every time someone would, like, bottom boy, like shit like that. Like, who cares? Like, let it go over, move on. Don't let those people dictate who you are, because you don't need a label and you don't need a title for anything. And I think that's like really the huge point here, is that you can't let, as much as it hurts, and as much as it's painful, you cannot let people dictate and tell you who you are. In any case, what I would say today is, so they're trying to tell you who you are, prove them different, and like over, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, overachieve. That's the word I'm looking for. But go above and beyond and prove them wrong. Like, nobody can tell you who you are. I think that's the 5th time I've said it, so it's probably very important. Actually, it is very important, because it's something that I live my life in every day now. Especially with being an artist and going to a school with all artists. It's very important that you own your craft, and that, like, what you produce is very much like your personality or what you're feeling inside. And a lot of my projects that I make are based off of all of this feeling that I have inside that I haven't expressed to anyone, including like talking about this right now. I've done quite a bit of projects on this, and I think like the biggest stressor and the most important thing about this whole video is it is Pride Month, and it is a time to celebrate you and to celebrate owning your individuality, owning your sexuality, and coming into your own and being exactly who you are, because nobody can tell you how to do that. And it's something that we all have to figure out. But my experiences, even though they weren't the greatest, and I used to have a lot of resentment for not being able to dictate coming out and not having a choice in that. I've learned to just let it go, and the best thing that I could do for myself was to keep moving. And there were a lot of times that I didn't want to keep moving, but it truly does get better. And I think like something that I tell a lot of people is, if you want to change, or if you are craving change, the only person that can make that happen is you. And you have 100% ownership of that. And if you want something to change and you are not happy, do what makes you happy. For me, I graduated high school. With all of the stress with my parents, I ended up moving out the day after I graduated, and was independent from that moment on. And I have sustained myself to this point. I'm 21 today. That was 4 years ago. Oh my god, I'm a senior in college. And don't, like, if you are not ready to come out, don't come out. But since it is Pride Month, I just really want everyone watching this to think about owning yourself and being the owner of everything in your life when it comes to change. And ultimately, the decisions that I make when I'm trying to decide like where to move or what job to take or what project to work on is, one, does it make me happy? Yes or no? If it doesn't, what is there that makes me happy? And whatever does make me happy, like, do that. And then 2, like, no one can tell you who you are. And I think that's the biggest thing here. People were telling me exactly what I was, when I was 14. And I didn't believe them because I knew that that was not me. And the rumors that they spread about me were not true. And so I'm very happy that I was able to find things to kind of keep my mind busy, but ultimately confronting my sexuality and being confident and owning my sexuality. And I mean, today I express it through clothing. I mean, I'm wearing like a mesh fishnet type crop top jersey today, but like that makes me happy. I like wearing these clothes. And I like dressing different every single day because I don't know what my mood is going to be and I don't know what my personality is going to be. But that's a way that I express myself outwardly to the public, and that determines like what I'm feeling on the inside that day. Like it directly affects my mood. So finding something that is yours, that you can own, that expresses you is probably the best thing ever. And I will always advocate for art. I love art. It's a great form of expression, and just do you, and don't let anyone own that for you. It is 100% you. And I think that concludes my Pride video. So, if you have any questions, definitely put them in the comments. Like I said, this is my very first YouTube video, but I'm going to try to upload a video once a week, and I will be talking about fashion, I will be talking about gay things, I will be talking about art or something. I'm not sure. This is really just a tester, but happy Pride Month. I hope you all are enjoying your Pride. If you need help, or if you're seeking services and you're looking for someone to talk to, in my description, I'm going to be providing areas that you can find help, find resources, and contact those people if you're having questions, if you have doubts, or if you just need help or someone to talk to. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. I will have a lot of really cool things coming up, and I do have some video plans. I know I do have like a male beauty thing coming up, so if you guys are interested in that, definitely subscribe. And you can find all the rest of my socials in the description below. But thank you so much for letting me tell you about my coming out story, and I'm glad that I can finally talk about it. So, happy Pride Month, and thanks for watching.